OK, there's two questions about schools. One from Alistair Reid, who is the chair of governors of Swiss Gardens Primary, and one from Jade Sowa, I hope I've pronounced your name right, from FAST. The first is, this year, 18% of West Sussex schools were in deficit. In layman's terms, an overdraft they have to pay back from future years' budgets. That figure is predicted to rise to 40% next year, with primary schools particularly affected due to falling birth rates and income and mostly fixed costs. What will candidates do to help alleviate the imminent funding crisis for local schools? And the second, which is a related question, is we've had 5 years of overcrowding and insufficient secondary school places in our district. Given that we know there are more children than school places locally, until at least 2030, what are you going to do about that? So two key questions. One is actually, what do you do about the falling rolls and the rising deficits? And what do you do about the question of existing demand before that starts to fall? And I can't remember what end of the table. You first last time, in which case, Debbie, it's you first this time.
So none of this should be a surprise. I've been working in the field of diversity and inclusion for 20-odd years, and we have known that there is a demographic bubble happening. We know that we're an ageing population. We know we've got a second bubble of coming along, so none of this should be a surprise. One of the things that we want to do is ensure that each child can have an education without having to track halfway across the countryside to get to a decent school. And beyond that, I will absolutely tell you with integrity that the education piece of this manifesto I have not swarmed up on. So I am not going to answer any further, Simon. I'm going to be completely honest about that.
Tom?
I've met with parents, governors and head teachers in recent months and know how difficult the funding situation for schools is. And in East Worthing and Shoreham, we are 517th out of 533 in the country for school funding per pupil, which is obviously very low down. And so that's something I would want to look to address. One of the things we are going to be doing, as I've said in my piece at the podium, is we're going to be looking to levy VAT on private schools to raise £1.3 billion to try and get some more money into schools for additional teachers, as well as our nursery places and free breakfast clubs for every primary school kid. But I know there's a lot more to do, and I hope if I am elected next week, I'll be able to meet with other schools and other head teachers to talk about that. When it comes to secondary school places, as I said earlier, that's going to be one of my very first priorities. I know how important it is for parents here in Shoreham who warned West Sussex County Council about it many years ago when the children were coming up through primary school, but they sat on their hands and didn't do anything. And now still, having commissioned a feasibility study, they're not releasing it despite it being finished. So they've not told parents, they've not told teachers what's going to be done or what the feasibility study has shown. And meanwhile, we're approaching another year of children about to apply for school places but not know where they're going to be going, and parents not knowing where their children are going to be going to school. So I will pick that up as soon as I can, but I'm very aware that a lot needs to be done quickly on it. So I will do my best on it.
Thank you. Layla?
So firstly, to come back on Tom's point around taxing by applying VAT to private school fees, my concern would be that actually that will increase the demand on secondary school places, because there are over 1,400 children in 7 schools across the constituency, and 308 of them are children with SEND needs who don't have an EHCP. So that will fall directly onto the parents or local authorities to fund those types of places. And actually, at the moment, those parents are saving the state sector around £7,500 per child per year. So if we don't have the capacity in our schools to accommodate those, I don't think the 1.3 billion is going to go far enough to accommodate that demand, let alone achieve any more teachers, because I think the national calculations are that it works out to about 1 extra whole-time equivalent across every 3 secondary schools. So just to come back on that, I think in general, we've seen locally, Shoreham Academy, where my son is currently in sixth form and has been for 6 years, is a very overscoped school and could clearly do with more space. I think I would absolutely champion the need for more funding for them to have the capital they require to expand the school. They could build on the Middle Road playing fields to expand the school and have the sixth form move off-site to enable the school to expand and build on the success that we've seen there over the last 14 years.
David?
Well, it's clearly a failure at West Sussex council, and we see the same thing over and over again. It's not just with education. Representations get made to them. They say they're going to investigate. They say they've come up with a decision. They don't say how, and nothing ever changes. So yeah, we do need to see some proper change there. But then once you sort all that out, you've still got to put some proper funding into those schools. So the funding per pupil has drifted down and down and down over the last 10 years. In the same as we've done with pensions, we need to say that actually pupil funding is going to increase with inflation, and that's just got to be built in.
Thank you very much. But the question is very, very sharp. What are your local priorities? And I'm going to ask you to nominate 3 and be quick. So, David, 3 local priorities.
Social housing. There's a crisis. We need to sort that out. Employment. Around here, wages are lower, and there are less jobs. There are only 2 jobs for every 3 working people. That's way lower than everything else. That's a failure of our local government. We need to get a proper economic development group growing in the area.
Fantastic. Layla, what are your 3 local priorities?
So a couple that I've talked about: improving access to doctors and dentists, making sure that people can get access to primary care in a timely fashion, an A27 bypass around Lancing and Worthing to alleviate the congestion and pollution that we see that's causing misery for constituents. And I'm going to add one more in, which is to sort out secondary care. I've got care on the brain. Secondary school places, because I know that's also a pressing issue, and we need to work with local schools to find solutions that will enable them to accommodate children locally.
Okay, Tom.
Same as Layla's last one, pushing West Sussex County Council to deliver properly on the secondary school shortages here in Shoreham, and that will be one of the very first things I do if I'm elected next week. Secondly, sewage, holding Southern Water to account, and trying to end the sewage that's going into our seas, and with tough new measures on water companies and the bosses running them. Thirdly, I think around transport and active travel, you don't just need to know about the state of the roads and the potholes, but also what we can do around sustainable travel infrastructure, implementing the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan, and propping proper safe cycle routes across the constituency, including the A259.
Okay. All popular with the Arts Council crowd.
I don't have too much to add to my colleagues. Certainly for me, it would absolutely be the whole flooding issue. We had people wading through inches of water to deliver during the local elections. Secondly, I would say it would absolutely be transport here and enabling us to have decent cycle paths and work together to work out how we're going to have healthier, safer transport in the area. And the third thing is actually something personal that somebody wrote to me about in advance of the election, and that is there's a scandal regarding loans, the loan charge scandal. There's something like 70,000 people caught up in it nationally. 10 people have committed suicide over it. None of us know about it. And the brief amount of research I've done has just been outrageous. And I've been written to by a constituent about that. And I would have to look into that in detail. It feels like another post office scandal just waiting to come.